Now, where did you actually grow up as young girls? In California or Iowa?
Well,
Until
Iowa,
Until you
and
were how
then
old?
and Minnesota. We went to kindergarten in Minnesota, and then back to Des Moines, and finished kindergarten in Des Moines.
Okay.
Then we moved to California when we were 6, I think.
Oh, okay. And you were out here till you were how old in California?
14.
And I were born during a blizzard, and I was 4 pounds and Ellen was 4 1/4. We cost 2 babies for $25. That was the doctor who came to the house and delivered us. And when he delivered Aunt Edna, whom I was named after, came crying down the stairs, and she said, "There's 2 of them and we only wanted 1." So I got named Edna, of course. And we survived. They didn't have incubators for us, but they warmed blankets in the wood stove and kept us warm with blankets. And even though we were premature and just weighed so little, we survived just fine. And we had colic for 3 months, and Mom said that she and Grandma and Grandpa never had a meal together for 3 months, keeping one baby asleep while the other one was crying.
Now, who was the next baby born?
Then Bud came after us 2 years later.
And then Ruth?
22 months.
And then Ruth was 2 years after Bud. And
Where were you born?
that
Des Moines?
we were born in Des Moines at Grandma and Grandpa's house, Grandma and Grandpa Adair. And my dad was in the Navy, and he didn't even see us till we were 18 months old.
No.
And then he thought we were spoiled brats, which we were, and we would shake the crib and call out, "Mama, Keku babies, Mama, Keku babies," and my dad would get mad because he was just home from the Navy, and of course wanted to spend time with my mother. But Grandma and Grandpa gave us the most wonderful home to start out life. And then eventually my dad got a job, and then they got a little house in Des Moines. Then we moved to Minneapolis, and then we came to California when we were 6.
California, here I come, right back where I started.
What do you remember about Burbank? What do you guys remember? The house or pets or friends?
Oh, we
The house
lived
was
in the
beautiful.
middle of 2 blocks that were nothing but fields. And the farmer would come in and plant his alfalfa. And it would grow up. When they trim it down, make bales of hay out of it, they'd stack it clear up. And the boys would come over and they'd pull out some of the bales, and we'd make steps up to the top. We'd jump off, and they'd open up some of the bales and spread it out, and that was what we jumped into.
What else from Burbank and being kids? What do you guys remember? The music you listened to and the radio shows and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Lights Out. Remember Lights Out?
Arch Oboler's Lights Out, everybody.
Green Lantern and
Yep. Just on the radio, though. You know, we didn't
but
have
we had to do our
TV.
homework first. I mean, they were strict about that. We would all come home and immediately dump our books all on the dining room table. That was our schoolwork desk, I guess. But we got our homework done, then we were free to go out and play. And many times we just got sent out. You know, my mom and dad would be there and they'd say, "Get out and get some fresh air."
What about movies? Do you guys remember going to the movie theater, local movie
Oh,
theater?
Saturday
Loma-
afternoon
Loma
for a
Theater.
dime. We went to the Loma Theater.
Uh-huh.
And they
And we
had
walked.
Tarzan and the Apes, and
And
talkies came in.
what we would see would be a feature film and a Pathé News and a serial that came on every Saturday. And you get one episode, and then you have to come back the next Saturday. And let's see if there was, we didn't get all tons of advertising, a little bit for Pathé News, you know, the rooster crowing and so forth. But we walked to the theater, a whole little gang of us, walked to the theater, 10 cents to get in. Let me see. And my mother would take us, what they had at the drugstore was books for rent. I think it was 3 cents a day. And my mother would take us to the drugstore, and we would come home just with our arms loaded. 3 cents a day, and my dad was making very good money then. That was the house with the tennis court where we lived. And we had everything that we wanted. And my mom would let us, yes, you can have any books that you want, 3 cents a day. So we would load up and get home. And then Ellen and I would butter crackers. Put butter on crackers, stack them up this high, go and put them on the upholstered arm of the chair, and then we would be lost in books. And my mother would come in, and it would be dark, and she'd say, "Twins, you're going to ruin your eyesight. You don't have any lights going or anything." But we were into my green fairy book, my brown fairy book, my own fairy book, my red
detective.
all of them, and just in seventh heaven to go and get books and bring them home and read. It was a wonderful life. My mother, you could always count on her when the teacher would say, now what parent, who would drive them all to the skating rink? Who would drive them all to the beach? We could automatically know my mother would take a gang of kids. She was just that kind of a mother.
What about Bud? What are some
Bud
memories
was-
of Bud?
He did everything. He got into trouble. Well, when he was in high school, he got into trouble because he and a bunch of his fraternity guys were spying on the sorority girls who were taking
They were
showers.
down in the basement. They crawled through the cellar window, the coal chute, and they heard that the girls were going to be, what did they call it?
Initiated?
Initiated. And they all were going to just wear diapers. So the boys, they crawled through, and the maid got nervous because she heard the noise of the boys. She called the police. All of them got out except Bud and another kid. They had to go down to jail. My dad had to go down and get him out.
And then they came home, and we were all hanging over the banister, Ruth and Ellen and I, and hanging over the banister, and you know, this was excitement and so forth. We didn't know we had a criminal in our family.
But he always cut in on me at a dance. Whenever we'd go to the same dances in high school, and my dates or whoever I was dancing with say, "You can't dance with her, that's your sister. You can't cut in." I know she's my sister. She's the best dancer on the floor. So that's what I remember.
That's pretty good, brother.
I will tell you one thing though. At our church, they had a program called On Peace, P-E-A-C-E. Now be quiet, because this is my story.
Oh, yes, I will let you tell it.
Anyway, Bud and I were to be open after the lady introduced us. We were to talk about peace. I was to say the first thing. Mary had a little lamb. Yes, please, so what? Then Bud would do the second verse. The lady, they opened the curtains, and there Bud and I are. I'm 3 or 4. And the curtains opened, and I started in. And Bud went like that, and he put his hand over my mouth. And I said, "Bud, do you want to fight?" A program on peace in the home. My folks didn't speak to me for 3 days. They closed the curtains.
I mean, we all absolutely idolized him. And he was the kind of a brother that would just hug you and tease you and I mean,
Never lets you down.
just the most fun-loving, wonderful brother you could ever have. And we were a long, long time getting over his death, but that was when he was 22. And
Wherever you go, whatever you do, I want you to know I'm following you. Whatever you climb or tumble into, why all of the time I'm following you.
When did you start playing piano, Ruth?
When I was 4,
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was playing.
when she could just
I
reach
would-
up and touch the keys.
I would play what my mother would play. And so she took me to the university there, and I remember the professors put the LA phone book up on the wind-up piano stool and lifted me up, and he had a flute, and the other one had an instrument I don't remember, and they would play a melody, and I would play it, because I heard it. And they said, well, she is a child prodigy. Don't ever give her lessons, because that will ruin her natural talent. So my mother didn't. But when we went back to Iowa, and I was 10 or 11, Grandma Adair said, this child is playing beautiful music, and she doesn't even know what she's playing.
Well,
So
they could
she
hum
was a
something.
piano teacher, and so she taught me how to read music. I couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
I would be up in the morning trying to read the music. Well, finally, Grandma said to Grandpa, I was living with them in the meantime, why, she said, I can't teach the girl anything else. She knows what I know. So they found a woman called Catherine Wolf, and she was a professional pianist. And my grandfather, out of his Social Security, would pay her $3 for a half hour to teach me. So then I started swinging. Grandpa said, don't play that kind of music. That'll never last. You stick to the classics. Well, Grandma said, just wait till he goes outside. Then you play what you want. I did that.
You remember some of the names of the songs that you like to play?
Oh, Baby Face, and You Must Have Been a Beautiful Baby.
You must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, I bet you drove the little boys wild. And when
Do you remember performing for friends or family at the house or anything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They always said, Ruthie, play the piano. And so I would play, but if they would sing something, I could play it.
And another thing that we had to do in those days was you had to entertain guests by reciting. And mine was, while Betty was blowing soap bubbles one day, a dear little fairy came walking this way. I won't go into the whole poem. And Ellen's was, Grandma had a button box, and on a rainy day, I used to take the buttons out and string them, just for play. Sometimes first I used a blue, sometimes then a black. Sometimes first I used a black and maybe then a blue. Sometimes those that had 4 eyes, and sometimes those with 2. But when my necklace was complete, I'd wear it for a day, and then cut the strings and put them all away.
Oh, yeah.
And then you were excused. You had performed for the you know, entertained the company, and then you were excused to go out and play with your friends again. And we just accepted that. Is that what you had to do?
First time you guys left Burbank to go back to Iowa was because of the Depression.
Yeah.
And what was that like when that hit, and for your mom and dad?
I had to wear hand-me-down clothes, not one dress, but 2 identical dresses. I never got anything new. I had their old clothes.
And Grandma made ours and scrimped and saved to get the material to buy dresses. And my grandma was a wonderful seamstress, and she made Ellen and me little dresses and made us little hats to match them. And that's what we would pass on to Ruth.
And your shoes, you get holes in the bottom. You put cardboard in your shoes. You couldn't have them half soled or buy new. You
It
had
cost
to make
35
them do.
cents to get them half sold, and sometimes my mom and dad didn't have enough money to even get them half sold.
I had
You
to
don't even know
laugh too.
that
My dad went to work
term.
for Grandpa, and he carried the hod. Well, here my dad was a sportsman. He'd go out to Tony Canero's gambling ship. He'd go fishing, deep
golf.
sea fishing. Well, here now didn't have any old clothes, so he wore his golf knickers to
Called them
carry the
4 plus.
hod. Well, this one time, he's carrying the hod, and this little colored kid came along, and he said, "Well, mister, you may be wearing your golf knickers, but you sure ain't playing golf." Dad never forgot that, how funny that was to him. Yeah.
And what do you remember about having to pack up and
We
leave
had
Burbank
to
going back to Iowa?
Just crying all the time before we left and when we got there, and every night for a year, just crying, missing our friends in California.
And I had to leave my only
having
doll.
nothing.
There wasn't room in the car. And
We
I
had to leave
give her away.
everything, all of our toys, because, I mean, we had like a U-Haul on the back end of it, and our dog, our babe, who was 13 years old, and our pit bull. She was a pit bull, wonderful, wonderful dog. And they tried to take her along with them because they would put her in the little U-Haul thing that was loaded to the gills. She would be up there with her claws trying to stay balanced on that little
She fell
U-Haul
off
thing.
several times.
She kept falling off on the desert, you know, and my dad and mom, when they got to Hemet, where my grandmother and grandfather Miller had the big apricot ranch and walnuts and so forth, and they just had to put her to sleep. And I can remember Bud just throwing himself on Babe and just sobbing, you know, because that was really his dog.
Jackie with you on that trip?
Oh,
Jackie was a baby, 18 months
yeah.
old.
18 months old.
And she went back, and my Aunt Edna, her sister, had a baby at approximately the same age. So there were 2, Aunt Edna came from Chicago, and they met at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And for 1 year, Grandma and Grandpa, there were 9 of us. And then everybody slept on couches and different things all over the downstairs. And I said to Ellen, "How did we all get showers?" I said, "I don't
We
remember."
didn't take
And Ellen
showers.
said, "There weren't any showers in that."
We took baths. Once a week we had a bath.
Then they filled a big tub of water and heated it on the wood stove, put it in the middle of the room. My dad got the first bath, and then it dribbled down, and Jackie probably got the tail end. So we made it through that first terrible year. But when that first Christmas, after in California, we just got loaded with bicycles, skates, and everything you can imagine for Christmas, a big tree and all the works. And then when the Depression hit and we went back there, the first Christmas we got an orange, and we got a scarf, a wool scarf, and my Aunt Cora bought us winter coats, or we wouldn't have had winter coats for Iowa. And that was it. We didn't get any, big presents or anything like that. And somehow we recognized that fact that nobody had anything, so we weren't going to get very much. But that was a big adjustment for high school to enter. We went first a year to Des Moines High School, North Des Moines, and we went 1 year there. But we were in the operettas. They gave an operetta. Ellen and I joined, so we were in the chorus with our Bohemian. That 1 year they put on the Bohemian Girl. We had the headdresses, and you'll see the pictures.
When I got to high school, I was president of the a cappella choir. I was president of the Latin club. I was in 4 different dramas, and I was in all the musicals. I really had a good time.
Lots of
Every guy in town.
Lots of boyfriends that when you lived with me, I had to keep track of 2 dates in one night, and one coming and one going, and don't tell them this, Edna, don't.
I've seen pictures of you at that age. I understand.
I had a lot of fun. I was dancing nightclubs at that time, and I was only 16.
Got work as the Tempo Twins. How old were you?
High school. 14, 15.
Where did you work?
At a radio station. We had our own program at a radio station.
Dancing?
WHBF. This is WHBF Rock Island.
And what did you do on the radio?
Sang.
Oh, okay.
After school, we were called the Tempo Twins, and that name kind of stuck with us in the family as a joke. And then it would say, and this is now it's time after school for the Tempo Twins, and we would get on. And so we had this little program, and then one time we got the giggles. There was no way we could stop
They used to
laughing.
do that quite a
We
bit,
did,
too.
and we knew we were on the radio.
But we got fired because we got the giggles.
One time the girls were dancing across the river at Moline, and I was at Snug Harbor in Davenport. My dad took me, Mother took the girls. I opened up my suitcase, 2 left shoes, tap shoes, trying to figure out how am I going to tap with 2 left shoes. So I told Daddy. So he quick grabbed one of the shoes and raced down to Bettendorf, Moline, over to Rock Island, to Rainbow Terrace, and found the girls. One of them had 2 right shoes, and got back in time for me to go on. I have one very interesting thing that I really enjoyed, and it's on the internet, which I don't know who put it on, the National Barn Dance from Des Moines, and it gave a list of, and my picture is on it. And the director of the senior club said to me, "Ruth, is this you?" And I'm looking, my high school graduation picture.
Really?
I said, "Well, yeah, where did you get it?" He said, "You're on the internet." I said, "How do I get on the internet?" I said, "I don't know, somebody's put you on it." And it was, Jackie was on there too, but not her picture, just my picture. And it just told of the Iowa National Barn Dance. And there were 2,000 or 3,000 people every Saturday night. And the most thrilling thing that ever happened to me in my whole life was I went out to do my number, and after I got through, complete silence. And I thought, oh, they didn't like me. And all of a sudden the lights came up and the whole place stood and yelled and screamed and hammered on the
I wanna
floor.
be a cowboy sweetheart. I wanna learn to rope and to ride. I
I couldn't believe it, all for me, and the 2,000 or 3,000 people. And I started to go off, and the stage manager said, go back and take another bumper.
Specifically, what did you do for that performance?
I want to be a cowboy's
I
sweetheart.
wanna be a cowboy sweetheart. That's the life that I love best.
Jackie worked at WLS in
Yeah.
Chicago.
And my mom took in, she was on the National Barn Dance.
She was a singer.
Yeah,
Singer and
she was
dancer,
6 years
John.
old.
Like Shirley Temple, and she was marvelous. And
She was petite.
and she could do everything she did on the Good Ship Lollipop, and people went crazy about her. And my mother, who had always wanted to be on the stage herself,
Oh, wow.
because she had this beautiful voice, and my grandpa said, you are not going on the stage, nobody but tramps go on the stage. He wouldn't let her, but she gave her children every opportunity she could. And she played piano at Tilke's Dance Studio so that we girls could all have dance lessons all of our life, and we did. But she went to Chicago, as poor as we were at that time. We weren't, this is after my dad got a job and he was coming up. She would go take Jackie and go on the bus to Chicago. She saved enough money for Jackie to get photos by Garbo, who was a big Hollywood photographer at that time. And those cost something like $1,000 or something. And my mother saved enough money to get those photos made. And that little one of Jackie that you've seen with her holding her knees, that's a Garbo picture. Well, you look back on it and you say, you know, she was a marvelous mother.
I don't suppose there's any chance, and still I build my dream romance around a star that beams so far above me.
Okay, and so you went to from 14, so you must have been in high school in Des Moines,
Yeah.
right? And
Starting
that's where you
high
met.
school.
That's where you met Bill
And they were
Bob?
seniors and we were freshmen.
Oh, cradle robbers. How did you meet them?
Oh. Somebody at school dared Bill and Bob to get a date with us. They said, you can't get near those twins with a 10-foot pole. And so they were going to prove it. And so we had to walk 2 miles back and forth to school, which we always did, grumbly. And then all of a sudden one day this Model A Ford pulled up alongside of us and said, do you want to ride home, twins? And we got right in the car.
We did
By
this.
chance,
We
I got in
did.
the
Should
front
we?
seat,
No.
Ellen got in the back, Bill was in the back, Bob was driving.
Now, Travie grew up with you guys in
No.
Des
Yeah,
Moines?
he lived 2 blocks away from us.
In Des Moines.
When we
No,
moved-
in Burbank,
Oh, in Burbank.
on Clark Street. Uh-huh.
You and Ellen date Travie?
Oh, they
Took
took
turns.
turns.
We took, one time we get mad and we'd break up, I'd break
And
up
I was
with
a
him
little,
and he'd go with
little
her.
sister that tagged along.
And then
Oh, yeah.
I know Beatrice I am. So when did you start dating him?
When they came back,
When I came
they
back,
came back,
And
we were-
he had, Ellen had gotten in touch with him. She was married, of course, to Bill by that time. So consequently, when I came out, I didn't have a chance. He just, oh, is this the little sister?
somebody,
From that time on, he kept telling everybody we were engaged, and I said, we are not. He said, oh, yes, we are.
yeah, and they kept teasing him, of course, you know. If you can't have one twin, you'll take the other twin. If you can't have that twin, you'll take a younger sister, you know. They said, you just want to be part of the Miller family.
Yeah, 62 years.
Yeah. You were still going with Bill and Bob when you graduated, right? From high school?
Well, they graduated and went on, Bill went on to college.
Yeah.
And we were still in like junior.
And then when did you get back together?
Graduated in 1935. And then we had 2 choices. We wanted to be nurses. That was our dream, to be nurses. I would have been the world's worst nurse, for sure. I wouldn't have been helpful. But anyhow, and then my grandfather, who was Scottish, came up with the idea of lending us each $60 and sending us to comptometer school in Chicago, where we lived in Oak Park with my Aunt Edna. And we did that, and our first paycheck, we paid my grandfather back the $60. And that's how they did it in those days.
So you both ran a comptometer, right?
And
Which
my
what is a comptometer? For the
well,
people
now it's out.
years from now will have no idea what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
I really don't even know.
You
Calculator.
A comptometer, you hold your pencil like this, and then you punch. It's mathematics.
IBM.
1 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you up 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you work for lumber companies and big companies and it adds up something. We would walk to the L station, get on the L, which would take you to the Loop down in Chicago, and we would go in the largest business building in the world. Felton Tarleton at Comptometer was in that building, and I'm trying to think.
The Mercantile Building?
Merchandise Mart.
Okay.
Called Merchandise Mart. And you have to look that up on Google, and you'll see it was very large at that time. And then we even got written up in the paper where they said some columnist was saying he watched two twins, and they even went through the revolving doors together.
Bill went away to college. Where did Bob go? After high school?
Oh, he went to work at Harvester, at
International
Harvester.
Okay, and then you guys got together. So when did you guys get married? How old were you when you got married?
1937 we got married.
Yes.
We were 19.
19?
Babies.
Yep. And
Get that, Tori?
and then when did you move back to California?
In 1940, Bill and I came out on a vacation, and Bill had never been to California. He fell in love with it, and he quit his job back there. He just sent him a telegram and told him he was quitting. He got a job. The war was going to start
Everybody
in
could get a
1940.
job.
It had started when we were on a vacation at Niagara Falls and in Canada, and it started in 1939. That was September. And then Bill quit his job, and Uncle Bun Huntress gave him a job at Lockheed. And in the
And Ellen
engineering,
came back.
Bill had taken engineering classes by mail, and so he got a job in engineering at Lockheed.
And then how long after that did you and Bob come?
After they came out in 1940, and then of course we wrote constantly. We had never been separated, ever.
I can't imagine.
Had never been separated. And Ellen came back and said, Bill wants to move. Well, Bud, when Ellen came out, Bud wanted to come with
Our
her.
brother.
Yeah.
Our brother Bud. And so he came with them. And then I got letters from Bud, and he said, Ellen cries every night. And he said, she is just miserable. And then in one letter, he said, is there any chance that you and Bob would consider moving to California? And that was on a Tuesday, and Friday Bob left for California, quit his
Oh,
job.
my God.
Had Rusty at that time, Brat.
So he was born in Iowa.
We'll edit this.
Rusty was born in Iowa?
Yeah, he was the
okay.
only one born in Iowa. And so we came out, and here we arrived with me with my fur coat on, and Rusty in his snowsuit, and here's this whole gang of family and friends that we had even known in junior high. Some of them, Travis was there. And here we get off of the train to big laughter, and the next day we went to the beach.
So where did you both live when you first came out here?
Well, we both lived in Glendale. You lived in the Orange Grove Apartments, On Hollywood Way, right near the airport.
When did you decide to buy the property on Lowell and move?
We
and
didn't
build?
ever decide. The men decided. We didn't know.
Yes.
So Bill and Bob looked around for something else for us, and they came home. They had bought an acre up in La Crescent, uncleared, and I had
Scrub oak.
and I had a 2-year-old and a 3-month baby, and Edna had 2 boys. Anyway, so we started clearing the land, and that's what we did.
And
then-
then Bob got his draft notice.
That must have been late in the war when he was drafted.
It was, and he was only in there a year, and the night before he was to leave for Le Havre, I think it was
France,
Le Havre, the war was over. And so, or that part of the
Yeah.
war, VE Day, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And then we all worked carrying, what did Bill call them? Adobes? Were they called adobes or something?
The bricks?
Bricks. And we got the house up so far, then up so far. Windows left open. There was a shower with no roof.
No
It had
roof.
no roof on it. No roof on it. And the bees would come in.
And the planes from Lockheed would fly over from the airport there. They would fly over. You could be
And
in
then-
the bathroom.
And then finally, Bob added a bathroom, and then he began fixing it up, and he put a screen porch on. And
But
some,
do you think, Edna, that we should say that you considered these the happiest years of your life?
yes, I mean, it was it was absolutely carefree.
They moved to Bakersfield, right? You-
That must have been hard.
Yeah.
Well, first we moved to Arizona.
Oh, that's
Oh, that's right.
And
So-
you came back and moved in with us.
So we had to, because when we came back, the people were living in our house.
Which house was this?
The little one on Lowell
Oh,
Avenue.
okay. Same one you built.
And
Garage house.
then, and we lived in Arizona. Bill was down there 9 months, and Candy and Shelley and I were only there for about 3 months, I think it was. And we lived in Yarnell. Was it Yarnell?
Yeah.
And it was up in the mountains above Phoenix. And so anyway, we came back, so we moved in with Edna and Bob, and we slept. We put the double mattress in the, we put our beds up in the garage.
Home is where when you have no place else to go, they have to take you in.
That's right.